There were four pretty high-profile teams that were sitting at home last weekend watching the wild card playoffs, wondering what could have been if they finished their seasons better. And we asked you which of those four teams was the best team to not make the 2012 playoffs. In this week's Voice of the Fan, joined by associate editor Arthur Argus to break down the results. And Arthur, let's start at the bottom. The Cowboys got only 10% of the vote. The Steelers with 14% of the vote. These teams actually played each other late in the season, vying for some playoff spots in respective conferences. Is there a case for either of these teams to be the best non-playoff team?
It's difficult for me to make a case. I mean, with the Cowboys, they didn't do their part, plain and simple. I mean, it was an NFC East title game for the second year in a row. They couldn't get it done. It's hard to get over Tony Romo's failures at crunch time, which are obviously a disappointing and reoccurring trend. So I just have a hard time, putting the Cowboys at the top of that list. As far as the Steelers, I just never got the feeling from this club. I realize the numbers are really good on defense, and they did some things well. They still have a Super Bowl quarterback, but I just never felt that this was the same type of Steelers team. They just lost too many winnable games, and I just don't feel like they had that same luster maybe they've had in other years.
And these two teams, like the other two we'll talk about, there's not really questions about their quarterbacks, but Tony Romo and Ben Roethlisberger, the way those guys played in the fourth quarter of some of the late games certainly didn't help the cause for either of those teams. Come now to the 10-6 Chicago Bears, came in second place with 30%. Bears started the season 7-1, fell apart down the stretch, and the Giants got the most of your votes. 46% of you thought the New York Giants were the best team to miss the playoffs. Makes sense, defending Super Bowl champions. When you look at the way these teams finished, why do you think the fans like the Giants so much here?
I kind of think you just said it because they're the defending Super Bowl champions. I mean, I have to be honest, it's hard for me to get past the defensive complete regression this season after being so good last year. I think at a lot of times this season, Eli wasn't the same guy who was so good in crunch time last season. And, every team has injuries to overcome. Certainly the Giants had their fair share. At least these two teams did what they needed to do on the final week of the season and doing their part, but of course it wasn't good enough.
And which of these teams, Arthur, do you think is the best non-playoff team?
I'm going to say the Bears. I think it's kind of a slight edge, but I don't know. Like I said, I like the way they finished the season. I know it wasn't a convincing win over the Lions, but at least they did their part, and the defense was still solid. It had its issues, but for me, I just felt like 10-6 is normally good enough to get you in. This was kind of a rare year. I think the NFC is the better conference. I think I give the Bears a slight nod there.
Well, yeah, we got three of these four teams from the NFC. If we had to go to the next spot in the AFC, it'd be the 7-9 Dolphins. I'm actually going to go with the Giants in this one. For the Bears, I love the way they started the season, but every time they played a good team, they just fell apart. Yeah. The Giants, on the other hand, we saw them beat some good teams. I think all four of these teams have plenty of talent, good quarterbacks, good defenses, good coaches, and they all underperformed. I think the Giants overall, have the most talented of these four teams, and they were the most underperforming this year, but still the best team that missed out in the playoffs. What did you think of the results? Did the fans get it right this time? Let us know what you think on our YouTube channel, and head to our website at ProFootballWeekly.com.